Be blessed by the divine. How to stop negative thinking. Here is a step-by-step guide for you. Let me first tell you about what is negative thinking. Any thought that causes pain for you or others, now or in the future, physically or mentally, is a negative thought. Now, having defined this negative thought, let us try to understand why we think negatively. I believe there are a few reasons for it. Number one is need. If you think negatively, it may help you eat, for instance, or sleep, for instance, or escape a situation, for instance. So therefore, we end up thinking negatively. For instance, lying is a common thing. There's always a gray area in lying, isn't it? Likewise, habit. Once you start forming a particular habit that helps you or that seemingly helps you, you get into the trap of thinking negatively again and again. So it's habitual. Third one is circumstances. Situations force us to say some things or think negatively. Others' imposition. Everybody is doing this, therefore we also have to think negatively. For instance, when people drive in a vehicle on a street in India, we tend to shout because we believe it's a good thing to shout, and that's when you will be able to get the right of passage, which is not necessarily so, which is certainly not true. From my experience, I'm telling you that. But still, people get into that situation because this particular imposition, others are honking, therefore we need to honk, becomes another routine for us to follow. Now, genetic could be the reason. Mother was depressive, therefore I should be depressive. Or I become depressive because it is there in my genes to be depressive. Could be one reason why people think negatively, for instance. And finally, when there is so much of negativity in the society that tries to accumulate in a person's genetic center and tries to fulfill itself through his actions, birth of a Hitler, for instance, or any such person who is an antisocial, could be because of the collective negative thoughts of the society. All right, now how do we get rid of negative thinking? Let's try to find out a simple step-by-step approach in doing that. First, I would like to suggest that you meditate at the Dhurya chakra, at the Sahasrara chakra. It will help you when you meditate on your Sahasrara chakra over your life force, Kundalini Shakti. Your brain will go to subtle alpha level of frequency. It is a calm, peaceful state of the mind, and that will help you to start introspection. So step number 2 is to sit in silence. Get rid of your computer, get rid of your television, get rid of your books. Don't read anything, don't listen to anything, don't get distracted with anything else. So get into the ritual of remaining in silence. With that, you will be able to start listening to your mind. Step number 3, take a notebook. It's hugely important that you take a notebook and a pen to start writing down your thoughts. Step number 4 is to list your negative thoughts. It will not like you will have about 250 or 350 or 3 million negative thoughts. There will be about 5 or 10, maybe 3 or 4 negative thoughts, maybe just 1 or 2 negative thoughts that are most bothersome for you. List them down. So once you list them down, think through how negative they are and list down the reasons for negativity, whether it is need or habit and others' imposition, whether it is circumstances, genetics, or whether it is social. Now once you list it down, then also list down how it is affecting you. All that is part of listing your negative thoughts. Number 5, step number 5, for each of the negative thought, find an alternative positive thought. In a moment, I will tell you why you should do this, but write it down. It's important that you find an alternative positive thought in place of negative thought. For instance, let us say one thought that comes to our mind is that we should yell if somebody makes a mistake in office. We know yelling is not good. We don't like to be yelled. We don't like to be shouted by somebody else. So why should it matter for us that we should shout at someone else when they make a mistake? So it's a negative thinking. It's a negative habit. So we need to get rid of that. How do you get rid of it? Tell yourself, come to a conclusion in your mind, convincingly come to a conclusion that we must become a friend We must become a facilitator. We must become a leader. We must be able to support the person in changing their negative habit or their inefficiency or ineffectiveness in working. It could be an employee, it could be a subordinate, it could be a colleague or a co-worker, etc. But it is our duty to help that person get rid of the inefficiency. It is not our duty to yell or shout at a person, because it hurts us, it hurts others, it hurts everybody else in the environment. It disturbs the peace within the working environment. We don't want that. Now, having come to this conclusion, the next step, which is the most important step, is to visualize that person, that circumstance in the office when it will trigger your negative thinking of yelling at that person. But this time you're not going to yell, you're going to calmly hold that person's hands and tell that person, my friend, I want to help you. This is not the correct way of working. There is a better way of working. Let me teach you if you allow me to do so. Shall I? Now the person gives, oh sure, yeah, please tell me, how can I improve myself? I'm happy to listen to you. Once he opens himself to you, he becomes your friend, you become his friend, and then sit down and teach him how to actually work in a better way. Visualize this whole thing. Now visualize how your positive thinking will manifest itself in a situation where it had manifested negative thinking in the past. Once you do that, then you are going to be on your way to success. Now you may ask me, this seems to be a very simple 6-step process, but why don't we tell, instead of thinking positively in place of negative thinking, why don't we tell ourselves, don't think negatively? Let me tell you why this will not work. Research has proven beyond doubt that there is something called as rebound effect. There are two parts to this rebound effect. Number one, let me tell you this. Just do this with me. Just cooperate with me. Just listen to me and do what I'm telling you to do. Close your eyes. Do not think of a dancing monkey. Got it? Are you able to avoid thinking dancing monkey? No, right? This is the problem. The brain doesn't understand how not to do something. Please be very, very careful in what I'm saying. Please understand this very carefully. The brain cannot imagine what it should not do. It will only think of what it should do. If you tell this to your brain that I don't want to think negatively, only that negative thinking will come. It doesn't know how to avoid negative thinking. It doesn't know how to avoid thinking something. But there is a very beautiful thing. If you tell your brain, think of a white elephant. Aha! Now you are able to avoid thinking dancing monkey. That is gone. White elephant has come to your mind. This is how the brain works. So you need to constantly think of positive thinking in place of negative thinking. Voila, you are actually succeeding in building positive thinking in your life and avoiding negative thinking. But there is a second element to this rebound effect. In 2010, there is a group of researchers who sat together and said, let's do a research on this negative thinking and rebound effect. So they got hold of a bunch of experimental control group people, volunteers who came forward, and the scientists told them that, okay, you're going to sit together and I'm going to give you a bell to ring, press and ring the bell. I will ask you not to think of a white bear. Do not think of a white bear. Now, each time you think of a white bear, you should ring a bell. So the experimental group of people who sat down to go through this experiment started pressing that bell approximately once every minute. That means they were unable to stop thinking of a white bear because the brain doesn't know what to think. You have told the brain not to think of white bear, so the brain thinks of white bear. This is a problem. All right. Now they caught hold of another group of people and told them to think of a white bear. And each time they think of the white bear, press the bell. So they pressed the bell. They also pressed it about once a minute or so. Fair enough. Both groups succeeded in practically doing the same. If you tell a group of people not to think of a white bear, they think of the white bear once a minute or so. If you tell them to think of a white bear, they also think once a minute or so. Now what happened was, they went back to group A, told them, we are changing the experiment. Now we want you to think of the white bear. How is it? Now, we told you earlier, do not think of the white bear. Now we are telling you, think of the white bear. But now, in each time you think of the white bear, press the bell. Guess what happened? Now, this first group, which earlier was not thinking of was told not to think of the white bear, but ended up thinking of the white bear, now were asked to think of the white bear and ring the bell. Now, guess how many times they actually rang the bell? 4 to 5 times in a minute. Are you shocked? I was shocked when I just read this report. Amazing. This is called as rebound thinking, rebound effect. That's essentially, if you are told not to do something, you are unable to stop doing it. Point number 1. Point number 2 is, when you finally get the freedom to do it, you get addicted to it. You do it with such vigorously. You think so much about it that you get addicted to it, or you get obsessed with it. These are the two important aspects of this rebound effect of negative thinking. So the only way for you to succeed in life is to avoid negative thinking and always replace that with positive thought. I am very sure that you have learned how to do it, and you are going to be successful from today. Till I meet you, let me know how I can help you succeed in getting rid of negative thinking, or if there is anything else that you want me to do that will help you to succeed in your life with meditation or with anything else. Please do comment on this particular episode. I would love to learn. You can send me a mail. It is me@krishmuralieshwar.com. You can go to krishmuralieshwar.com. You can click on the contact me section, and you can actually put your questions in the Google form there, and I will get it, and I would love to answer that in the next episode of mine. Until then, love you very much. Thank you for being a great source of my inspiration. Be blessed by the divine.